free to be whoever you want to be. Feel free to dance, feel free to sing, just feel free. Feels like the world is picking on ya. Feels like it's picking on me. But trying to please everybody, that ain't no way to be. So many people try to get.
What's going on, everybody? It is episode 18 of the Two Tone Talk podcast. I am your host, Brad Steele, and I'm here with you today on a very exciting edition of the podcast because in just an hour from right now, the Titans will be having the introductory press conference of the new Tennessee Titans general manager, Ran Carthon, just hired on Tuesday, and he is the guy, and he is doing an interview in an hour. And to lead up to that interview / press conference, I'm here with you on the Two Tone Talk podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, SoundCloud, wherever you may be listening or watching today. Please subscribe on YouTube. Please go follow me on Twitter at Two Tone Talk. It has been an exciting week for the Tennessee Titans, a very eventful offseason so far. Just 2 days after the season ended in Jacksonville, we got the firing of offensive coordinator Todd Downing, in addition to many other coaches on the staff. And now this week we get the hiring of a new general manager, Ran Carthon. Now, I will tell you this. I have said it before, and I will tell you again right now. I am not very insightful when it comes to, the financial side of football, cap space, that kind of stuff. I wish I were more knowledgeable, but that stuff just confuses the heck out of me. And I'm not usually as knowledgeable about GMs and GM candidates. I usually, I absolutely tend to have more insight on things like the head coach, the offensive and defensive coordinator, things like that. But because this was such a big deal, I tried to do some research on the guys who were being interviewed for the job. I think the Titans interviewed 7 different people, and I tried to do some research. And part of doing that research was going and listening to people who know more about it than I do and getting their insights, such as Tyler Rowland over on the Locked On Titans podcast, kind of getting some information from him, different articles, different writers for the Titans that know more about it than I do, trying to learn more about each person they interviewed. And I'm not just saying it because he's the one that got hired. The guy that I wanted was Ran Carthon. He was my number one pick. Now, a lot of people wanted Ian Cunningham, and he was a lot of people's number one, with Carthon right behind him at the number 2 spot. But for me, I wanted Carthon, and here's the simple, practical reason why he even edged out Cunningham in my mind. At the end of the day, I just have to look at where each guy would be coming from. Ian Cunningham, I believe, would be coming from the Chicago Bears, who are not very good and haven't been good in some time. And Carthon's coming from a 49ers team with one of the best rosters in football that he helped build. And going by his resume mixed with that, I said this is a guy I want. When there were still 6 or 7 candidates left, he was my number one pick. And it was interesting. I think Tuesday they narrowed it down to 3. It was Cunningham, Carthon, and Cowden, who was the interim GM after John Robinson got fired. He kind of was the interim GM for the remainder of the season. And he was a he was interviewed and had a good chance of getting the GM job permanently. Here's why I'm glad he didn't, and I'm sure he's a good guy, and I'm sure he was a good candidate for the job, but I think there is a consensus among Titans fans. There is a general feeling that the Titans always go with the in-house hire. And there was a lot of people expecting Cowden to get the job for the simple reason that he was familiar, he was comfortable, he was already there, we already know him, we already trust him. Does anybody else get the sense that Vrabel has trust issues when it comes to coaches and GMs? I get the vibe that Mike Vrabel has trust issues. So that's why a lot of fans, anytime there is a roster spot that needs to be filled or a coaching vacancy or a GM vacancy, there's always this sense among Titans fans that we're going to go with the in-house guy. We're going to go with the guy that's already here because, of course, we are. And I think there were a lot of people expecting that. When word came out that it was down to 3 candidates, Cunningham, Carthon, and Cowden, I think a lot of people were expecting Cowden to get the job because it was like, of course, in-house guy, we already know him. And the deal was they said Vrabel's going to talk to these guys, and I was expecting a decision to come down like today or tomorrow, Friday or Saturday. So I was stunned when I opened my phone Tuesday evening to see that it was a done deal and they had hired Ran Carthon to take the job. But I was very pleased, and I'm still very pleased to this moment. Like I said, in now less than an hour, his introductory press conference as the new GM of the Titans will be happening. We got the video yesterday of him entering the Tennessee Titans headquarters for the very first time, to massive applause from the staff. And so it's an exciting time. I'm very excited about this guy. I'm very excited about what he brings to the table. I'm very excited about the fact that he helped build what is an incredible roster in San Francisco, who, by the way, is in the divisional round of the playoffs this weekend. And they're always, like, the 49ers are a team, they're always making deep playoff runs. They're always right there at the end, and he's a part of the reason why. He helped build that roster. You look at the trade for Christian McCaffrey. You look at some of the blockbuster draft picks that they've had. I mean, it's not hard to see. This guy, I'm not saying he was the only factor in those, but he was a major contributing factor. So I'm very excited to have him with the Titans. And I'll tell you what else I'm excited about. I'm excited about the message that this sends. Do you remember when John Robinson was fired after the Titans got humiliated by A.J. Brown and the Eagles? Do you remember what Amy Adams Strunk, the owner of the Tennessee Titans, said in her statement? She pretty much said, this isn't good enough. And this was during a time when it looked like they were surely going to win the AFC South. Then they ended up not even winning the AFC South. But Amy Adams Strunk pretty much said, this isn't good enough. We've hit our ceiling with John, and we want to go to the next level. I mean, if I remember correctly, she said, we want to be on the same level in the AFC as the Chiefs, the Bills, the Bengals. We want to be one of those teams, and we're not even close. And if she knew what was coming, she would have known just how far we truly were away, because we ended up like totally wetting the bed even more. And so I think at some point it was good to hear her say that, but we needed to see her back it up with her actions. We needed to see her prove to the fan base, I know what we just watched for 2 months, the last 2 months of the regular season. I know that wasn't good enough. I know we got to have more. I know this roster's not good enough. I know the way things are going right now we've hit our ceiling. We want to take the next step. We don't want to go back to being the worst team in the league like we were in 2011, 2012, 2013. We don't want to go back to those times, and we're not going to. We're going to get ahead of the game. We're going to make the moves that we need to make. And I think if she had just, if she had kept Downing, if she had just kept John Robinson, or just gone with the easy in-house hire of Ryan Cowden, I think that would have sent the wrong message to the fans. That would have sent a message that said, hey, we're content with keeping things the way they are. We're content with keeping things the way they are, and we're going to fix it in-house. I love the fact that she wasted no time. She fired Todd Downing and some other coaches immediately. And I know Vrabel had a lot to do with that as well, but I love the message she sent. She said, okay, we know these guys aren't good enough. Let's get them out of here. We know that we need new blood in here. We need new insight. We need a new direction. So let's go and get somebody from outside. Because as I said, Vrabel has trust issues. And so often, I think he goes with the in-house guy that's already there because it's the most comfortable, reassuring thing to do. But I love the fact that Amy Adams Strunk came in and said, no, we're going out here and we're getting the most qualified guy. We're getting the guy that's going to be aggressive. We're getting the guy that's going to come in here and try to flip this thing on its head and take us somewhere new. I love the message it sends, and I love the fact that all bets are on the table now. I've seen it on Twitter. A lot of Titans fans have predictions about how they think this offseason is going to go, how the draft's going to go, free agency, trades. And I don't know. And that's just the beauty of it. Because of this situation, with an owner who appears to be very aggressive in wanting to make this team better, with a new GM that we're going to get to know, and we'll get to know him in less than an hour when he does his introductory press conference, we don't know. We don't know what's going to happen. All bets are on the table. Any option you throw out, I mean, if we still had John Robinson, then yeah, your predictions would have a little more weight because we kind of knew what to expect from John. We knew what he kind of did and the way he conducted business. But this is a new era, and I think that any suggestion you could throw out there, outside of something like, we're going to bring Peyton Manning out of retirement, like anything other than something ridiculous like that, I think it's on the table. I think this is a team and this is an organization that is showing you we want to go in a new direction. We want to take this thing to another level. We know what we have right now is not good enough. And so we brought in this new guy as GM. We're looking for an offensive coordinator, and we're reevaluating the whole thing. We got a new stadium. That's another thing to remember, guys. The Titans have a new stadium coming in a couple of years, and they don't want to suck. When the new that would really put a damper on things if they get this big new fancy stadium and they're horrible. They want to be really good when that new stadium comes along, because this is an opportunity, I think, to get new fans excited, much like I was when I was 6 and they became the Tennessee Titans and they had Adelphia Coliseum there in Nashville. And what did they do? They went to the Super Bowl. And that's part of the reason why I'm still here today cheering on this team. Not saying still here today alive. I mean, still here today as a fan of this team, as devoutly as I am with a podcast where I talk about them every week, is because it got me excited. And even when they started to suck, I had the memories of when they were awesome. And that's what kept me around. I think with a new stadium being built, I think Amy Adams Strunk is sitting there saying, hey, we got to get good. We got to get good. Because we want people to be excited about this team. We want people to be excited about the organization. We want people to be excited about the stadium. And if we're going to do that, we got to get a heck of a lot better. So I love the fact that we've made the outside hire at GM. We've gone out and brought in somebody new with a fresh philosophy on the whole thing. And we've still got Vrabel, who I still believe is a great coach, even in spite of the fact of how things went this year. I think he's a little stubborn. I think he has trust issues, but I think overall he's a great coach. And we'll see. There's a lot of stuff that needs to be done this offseason. Guys that need to be re-signed. Guys that need to be paid. Positions that need to be filled. An offensive line that needs to be totally reinvented. Some holes on defense you got to look at. Some key guys on defense that need to be re-signed. Wide receiver position with not much talent or depth. And, a quarterback position that who knows what's going to happen there. But the exciting part is that with this new GM and with this new philosophy, all bets are on the table. We can talk about any option. Do I think they're going to be able to trade up in the draft and get a quarterback at 1? No. I don't think it's going to happen because I think Chicago's going to want too much. But you know what? They might try. Tennessee might get aggressive and try something. I mean, We've talked about trading guys like Jeffrey Simmons or Derrick Henry. Do I want to do that? Not necessarily. I love Jeffrey Simmons. I love Derrick Henry. Did you guys see Derrick Henry on Bussin' with the Boys and what he had to say about Nashville? He said, I want to bring the first Super Bowl to Nashville, Tennessee. I got chills when he said that. The hair on my arm started standing up when this guy who's been the face of our organization, who has every freaking right to come in and say, send me somewhere else. He, after the offensive line he just played behind and the putrid play calling, this guy has every right to come in and say, I want out. I want to go somewhere else. I'm these are the best years of my career. These are the best years you're going to get from me as a running back. And I don't want to be here anymore. Send me somewhere else. But no, this guy's sitting there saying, I want to be the one to bring the first Super Bowl to this city. So if they want him back, it sounds like he's in. A lot to unpack, but the message has been sent. Hey, let's talk about this quarterback situation. And there's an offensive coordinator situation to talk about too. We already know offensive line, there's a lot to unpack. Taylor Lewan sounds like he doesn't believe he'll be back, but who knows? Left tackle is the most important position on the line if you're dealing with a right-handed quarterback. So I'm interested to see what we do at left tackle. Taylor Lewan, is there somebody else out there? Is there somebody you want to take in the draft? I think Aaron Brewer is on the chopping block, could maybe be replaced. Ben Jones, he might be retiring. I mean, this is a lot to take in, and I think, Nate Davis has got to be re-signed. So really the only lock on the offensive line right now is probably Nicholas Petit-Frere at right tackle. And not because he was great this season, because he surely wasn't. But, I mean, he was a rookie. He's their new guy. I mean, maybe you can try and salvage the career of Dylan Radins and put him on that line next year. I think he's shown promise when he's been in there. I don't know what their holdup is with him. But, maybe you want to go with him. And maybe Ben Jones decides to come back. I want him to do what's best for him because he's had so many concussions. And I know Lewan would love to be back. I just don't know if it's in the cards. And I know people have questions about Lewan because he's been injured so many times and he's coming off of another big injury. But when he's in there, he is a good left tackle, and those are hard to come by sometimes. At quarterback, there is an Instagram story post that has made the rounds after the hiring of Ran Carthon, who was employed by the San Francisco 49ers, and that's why this is relevant. Trey Lance has come out on Instagram, posted a picture of Ran Carthon being announced as the new GM with the emoji of crossing the fingers. A lot of people speculating that is Trey Lance's way of saying, boy, oh boy, I hope I get traded to the Tennessee Titans. It doesn't sound like to me the 49ers are crazy about going back to Trey Lance. Brock Purdy's done well. They may stick with him. There's been rumors about Brady. I said it before. If they're interested in Brady, and if I'm Tom Brady, that's the best option for me, is going to San Francisco because of the roster. But it sounds like they are definitely trying to go another direction than Trey Lance. And remember, they drafted Trey Lance with pick number 3, 4. They took a very high draft pick on this guy. So I don't know why they would be so eager to just give up on him when he's had so little playing time. But a lot of Titans fans are speculating, will we try to get Trey Lance? I don't know, man. I don't know. It's just, I'm always going to be iffy on making a trade for a guy who hasn't really shown much of anything. He's been hurt. He sat behind Jimmy G, and then he got his shot. I mean, he's shown signs, but it's a risk to me. It's a risk that I could get excited about, but I'm not sure, man. I just, on the surface, when you mention the name Trey Lance going to the Tennessee Titans, there's a big part of me that's like, I don't know. I'm not exactly jumping out of my chair about that. But, if they make the trade, maybe I could be jumping out of my chair. Like I said, we just don't know a lot about the guy. We don't know a lot about the guy. It's just he's played so little. that, I think he played in one game this season and then he got hurt. So we don't know a lot about Trey Lance. We don't really know what he brings to the table. Titans Rossi in the YouTube chat says, excited to see the presser today for the Titans with Ran Carthon. And that is coming within the hour. I will be done by the time that starts, so don't worry. You'll be able to get off of this and go to that. And Titans Rossi, I want to say, were you the one on Twitter just today that linebacker Monty Rice came at so hard? Was that you today? Was that you? Did I dream that Monty Rice jumped down your throat about something that you said about the linebacker position? I don't know. Maybe that wasn't you. Either way, back to the quarterback thing. Trey Lance, we haven't seen enough of him. I just don't know what the deal is with him. He's only been in the league for a couple of years. So, let's not act like this guy is just, like Josh Dobbs. You talk about Dobbs, it's like, okay, he's been in the league 6 years, hasn't gotten an opportunity. There's got to be a reason. Trey Lance has only been in the league 2, and he has gotten a chance. He was their starter in San Francisco. He got hurt in week 2, so who knows. I will say I don't want to deal with another Marcus Mariota situation where guys getting hurt all the time at the quarterback position. The other quarterback option, Tom Brady. The last episode I did, the Cowboys-Bucks game hadn't happened yet, but after watching Cowboys-Bucks, I'm not going to lie to you guys, I am not exactly excited about the idea of Tom Brady, man. He looks old. He looks like he is just a step behind. Now, I'm not going to say it was just him. I think Tampa Bay's O-line looked terrible. Their play calling looked terrible. But, man, I just don't know how you can watch that the other night and be like, yes, let's go get Brady. I don't know. Somebody in the chat, Will Dotson, said, how would you feel about Aaron Rodgers? I'm not going to lie. I would be excited about Aaron Rodgers. I would be more excited about Rodgers than I would be Brady or Trey Lance. Aaron Rodgers is looking older, but you got to remember, Aaron Rodgers was just the MVP of the league last season. Just a year ago, he was the two-time, back-to-back MVP of the league. He lost Devontae Adams. That was a big blow to him in Green Bay. The Packers just didn't have a lot of talent on that team. So, yeah, I won't lie. I would be very much excited about Aaron Rodgers as opposed to Brady or Lance. Now, I will say Aaron Rodgers had made a statement yesterday that I kind of had a problem with. He was like, I still think I have more left in the tank. I think I can win MVP again. And Rob Gronkowski had a very good response to it. He was like, MVP? He was like, who cares about MVP? He's like, what about Super Bowls? That's true. I'm with Gronk on that one. Titans Rossi did confirm it was him that Monty Rice got onto today. He was actually responding to No Flags film response to my tweet. I said something positive about him initially. All No Flags said was he needed to improve in pass coverage. Yeah, so that's what happened. Titans Rossi made a post speaking positively about Monty Rice. No Flags film responded to that, just saying he needs to get better in pass coverage, and Monty Rice lit him up for saying that. It appeared he did get upset about that. I like Monty Rice. I think he's shown that he can be a major contributor in the future if he can stay healthy. All that to say, I'm not jumping out of my chair about Trey Lance. I'm not jumping out of my chair about Tom Brady. He may very well retire, and Rodgers may retire too, but I would be more excited about Aaron Rodgers than I would be about those guys. As far as the draft option, again, I just don't feel like it's going to happen. I don't feel like it's going to happen. But let me say this. I want to say this. There's no telling what Chicago would want. And I keep saying this. There are a good few teams between the Titans at 11 and the Bears at 1 that are going to want a quarterback. The Colts are at 4. And I hate it, but the Colts are in prime position to trade up from 4 to 1 and grab Bryce Young. The Panthers, I think, are at 8. They're a team that's going to be desperate for a quarterback. The Seahawks are at 5. They may be looking for a quarterback. There are more teams in there that may very well be in better position because, so not only do the Titans have to make a trade with Chicago anyway, but they've got to make a trade that's good enough to jump all these other teams that are going to be trying to trade between them. So it's going to be a lot. There's no telling what they're going to want. But if I'm Ran Carthon, if I'm Amy Adams Strunk, if I'm Mike Vrabel, I'm saying we need to at least see. And here's why. Here's why you at least have to throw the option on the table of seeing what they want. Here's why. It is my opinion that we are right now seeing a changing of the guard at the quarterback position in the NFL that we haven't seen in 2 decades. Because you guys know, for so long, when you tuned in to watch an NFL season, you knew. I mean, this was year after year after year. You knew Brady, Manning, Breeze, Roethlisberger, Rivers, there's probably some other, Favre, and then eventually Rodgers. You knew, these are the guys that are going to be the standard bearers. If you want to get to the promised land, you're going to have to go through these guys. I'll loosely throw Eli Manning in there too. But you're these are the tippy top guys, and it was that way for so long. You tuned in every year and you knew those were the stars, okay? Well, all of those guys nearly have retired now. Brady may very well be getting ready to. Rodgers may be getting ready to, but both Mannings are out, Roethlisberger's out, Rivers is out, Breeze is out, and there is a changing of the guard. Look at the quarterbacks who are leading the way in this league. Look at the quarterbacks who made the playoffs in the AFC. Mahomes is the oldest one, and he's only 29. Trevor Lawrence, God help us, he's 23. He's a baby. Josh Allen, we think of him as being an older seasoned vet. That guy's 26. Joe Burrow has already played in a Super Bowl and he's 24. Jalen Hurts, he's 24, 25. These are the new guys. This is the new crew. All those old guys, with the exception of Brady, who may very well be retiring very soon, and Rodgers, who may also be retiring very soon, they're all gone. These are the new guys, and they're going to be the guys for a while. I think that's why you're going to see so many teams trying to do everything they can to grab Lamar Jackson. I know I got B Ravens 1 in the chat who is, shut up about it right now, probably. Huge Ravens fan. But I think you're going to see teams who are desperate to try to see what Lamar Jackson wants. Because you look at Lamar Jackson and you see a guy somebody confirmed in the chat, Burrow's actually 26. Well, either way, he's 26 and he's played in the Super Bowl. Unless he gets some terrible injury, God forbid, he ain't going nowhere anytime soon, is what I'm saying. I think, Lamar Jackson is a guy that teams are going to look at and say, okay, that's a guy that could hang with those elite guys I just named for the next however many years. So I think, the Ravens ultimately are probably going to get him back, but there's going to be teams that are desperate to try to grab Lamar Jackson. Now, in terms of the draft, if I'm a team like the Titans, I'm sitting here and I'm saying, okay, if we don't make a move, we could very well, we already know we got Trevor Lawrence in Jacksonville. Houston is at number 2, so they're going to get either Bryce Young or C.J. Stroud. They're going to get one of them. And the Colts could very well trade up and grab one of them too. So let's just say hypothetically, you come into a division next year with Trevor Lawrence, Bryce Young in Indianapolis, C.J. Stroud in Houston. If those 2 guys from the draft are good, we're in trouble. This is a critical point for the Titans at the quarterback position because this division, the AFC South, may be about to get very good at quarterback, and you may get left behind. Now, there is the option that you could say, okay, they could just go with Tannehill for one more year and then draft a quarterback next year. But I'm sorry, guys. I just hate, let's go in and suck this year so that we can get a quarterback. I mean, I just don't know. I think maybe Chicago's going to want too much. But if Tennessee, they have to at least throw the option on the table and say, hey, let's call them and see what they want. See what they want and see if it's even remotely doable. Because we're about to watch the other three teams in our division, and forget the division, the conference of the AFC, and the NFL as a whole. We've got guys that are now in place to be the Mannings, Brady's, Breezes, Roethlisbergers, Rivers. Like, we've got those guys set up. Justin Herbert, I didn't even name him a little bit ago. These are going to be your guys for the foreseeable future in the NFL. And you don't want to get left behind. You remember all those years where it was those guys that I just mentioned, those legends that were running the league, and the Titans were trying to make it work with Locker and Hasselbeck and Whitehurst, Clipboard Jesus, and all this stuff. Like, those were dark years because these other teams had their guy and we didn't. So I'm very interested in what's going to happen at the quarterback position. I'm very interested in Ran Carthon's viewpoint of it. I'm very interested in what Vrabel would want to do. But the time is now to be very proactive and get on the, no pun intended, offense on this. Because you don't want to end up playing defense when all these other teams have stud quarterbacks, young stud quarterbacks, and you're still trying to run the ball 40 times a game. And on that note, let's talk about offensive coordinators, because I've said it in the past. Derrick Henry, if he wants to come back, I want him back. I still think he's that guy. But even if he's back, even if Derrick Henry's back, and I hope he is, we've got to change offensive philosophies. I'm not saying Derrick shouldn't get his carries. I'm not saying Derrick shouldn't be a focal point of the offense. But we cannot keep going out there and playing 1970s football, handing the ball off 40 times a game and hoping that we can win a game 13-10. Like, I'm sick of it, man. That's just not what the NFL is now. You can win some games that way. You can even make the playoffs that way. But if you want to do what Amy Adams Strunk said we want to do, which is take the next step and be one of those premier teams, I'm sorry, we've got to get more talent at wide receiver. We've got to change our philosophy. We've got to make it a point to make our passing game something that is to be feared and not just something that, we do on third downs because our running back got swallowed up for a 5-yard loss on the first play. We've got to make the passing game more of a focal point. There we go. I knew I'd get it right eventually. Whether Henry's back or not, and I think he will be, we can't just keep saying, hey, let's let this guy carry us to... I don't want to hear any more of this. The difference between us and everybody else is we got Derrick Henry. Yes, you do, and thank God for him. But, let's not just bank on that every week. Let's not try to just build an offense around this guy again. Because the rest of the league, go watch the Bills, the Chiefs, the Bengals, and tell me that you want to keep running the ball 40 times a game. Having a run game is very important, absolutely, especially in the playoffs. But you got to be able to have, to get the ball down the field. Like Vrabel said, got to get faster. So on that note, you look at offensive coordinator rumors, and who knows? Who knows? But Tim Kelly's the in-house guy. I mean, Tim Kelly, I wouldn't just totally be discouraged, but I think, again, there is this attitude among Titans fans that's in-house hire, always going to go with the in-house hire. I think it would be even more encouraging to Titans fans to get some new blood in here. But Tim Kelly is an option. He's been interviewed. Greg Roman, the Ravens just let him go yesterday. Some people love the idea of Greg Roman because of what he has done for the Ravens' running attack over the years. Some people don't want Greg Roman because of what he's done for the Ravens' running attack over the years. I just said we need a new philosophy, and I think a lot of Titans fans are saying, okay, so we're going to bring in a guy who made the Ravens' run game the backbone of their team, hard to believe we're heading in a new direction offensively if we get a guy like Greg Roman. That just feels like, oh, help us run the ball more. So I get that hesitation as well. You know, the Ravens, similar to the Titans, have not had a major wide receiver threat over the years. I mean, they had Hollywood Brown, who like put up very average numbers, you know, that I feel like, you know, could have done even better, but the Ravens were a run first team. And so I think if you get a guy like Greg Roman, yeah, you're going to have a lot of fans who are saying, okay, so we're going to keep running the ball like crazy. Mike LaFleur, the Jets let him go, and a lot of people feel like the Jets made him the scapegoat for their offensive woes. I think it's hard. I think it's probably hard to be an offensive coordinator that gets success when the quarterback is Zach Wilson. I'm just going to be honest with you. I don't think Zach Wilson's that dude. I don't think he's ever been that dude. So I think a lot of people are going to be interested in Mike LaFleur. He has history with Ran Carthon. He has history with Vrabel. So I think there's a lot of people speculating that he could be a real candidate for the job. And I'm probably more excited about him than I would be about Greg Roman or Tim Kelly. In the YouTube chat right now, Titans Rossi says, I think they're going to stick with Tannehill. Just my opinion. I'm down for someone like Rodgers, though. Heck, I would take Brady, too, for a year just to see what happens. If they got Brady, that would be the most exciting part for me. Like, let's just see. Let's just see what the old man can do. If it doesn't work out, draft a quarterback next season, or see if Malik actually develops, Titans Rossi says. I think Malik's going to need at least another year to develop. Wes says Tannehill doesn't get anybody excited at all. I agree. Will Dotson says, I want the Titans to be one of those teams the media speaks about during the off and preseason. Yeah, me too. And you know, depending on moves they can make this offseason, you know, maybe they would be. But I think with the offensive philosophy they have, they're just not any fun to talk about. Like, all right, the Titans have Derrick Henry, and they're going to run the ball over and over and over again and try to play good enough defense to win a game 16-13. Harrison says Tannehill's underrated. What do you guys think about that? Harrison says Tannehill's underrated. I respect Ryan Tannehill. I appreciate Ryan Tannehill. I like Ryan Tannehill. And I do agree with what Harrison just said. He isn't Brady or Manning, but he doesn't have a lot to work with. That's fair. Offensive line-wise, the guy was running for his life on a bum ankle. The reason he had a bum ankle is because his offensive line was trying to get him killed. And, again, yeah, no receiving threats at all. Wes says we had a major wide receiver threat, and the dude that got fired traded him. Yeah, don't remind me. Don't remind me. Don't remind me. And he's proven with his play in Philadelphia how bad of a decision that was. Also, talking about offensive coordinator, I've seen people recommend Byron Leftwich, who was the offensive coordinator for the Bucks. I'm sorry, guys. I'm just going to say, if you watched that offensive performance by the Bucks the other night and you are excited about the idea of Byron Leftwich, I don't know what to tell you. I thought that Bucks offense, it looked every bit as bad as the Titans. I'm not kidding. And that Bucks offense the other night looked every bit as bad as Tennessee's offense. They looked totally discombobulated. They looked like they had no idea what they were doing. They looked like, just horrendous. And it's not just Leftwich. Brady looked like he just couldn't wait to get rid of the ball every time he got it. It was just a disaster. But I do not want Byron Leftwich after what I watched the other night. But yeah, there's kind of the news in Titans world. New GM, as of right now, we are 22 minutes away from his introductory press conference, and I guarantee you I'm going to have you out of here in time to watch that press conference. Let me make some picks for the divisional round this weekend. We're down to 8 teams, and I'm looking forward to these games, man. I love the playoffs, love to watch these games with such high stakes. The first game Saturday afternoon is going to be our old friends, the Jacksonville Jaguars, going to play the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, I'm going to go ahead and tell you guys, I think the Jags have a chance in this game. The Jags have already gone to Arrowhead once, and they almost beat the Chiefs there in the regular season. Trevor Lawrence has made some comments this week. He said, hey, I don't think Arrowhead's going to be any louder than the Jacksonville fans are. I'm just telling you what, guys. It's not just because it's Jacksonville. I heard the dude say that, and I was like, oh, no. Oh, no. That place is going to be rocking like he ain't ever heard before. I don't particularly like the Chiefs. But, of course, I'm going to be rooting for them because they're playing at Jags. I don't want the Jags going any further. I want the Jags to lose humiliatingly. And they looked like they were going to the Chargers last week, and then the Chargers chargered all over the field. The Jags have a chance, though. They're red hot. They just keep on rolling. The Chiefs have had a week off, and we see that bye week, sometimes it comes back to bite the team that had the bye. I just have to believe that the great Patrick Mahomes, and I don't like the Chiefs, but I am willing to say Mahomes is going to go down in history as one of the best we've ever seen. I can't believe that Mahomes and Kelsey and Andy Reid are going to let their playoff hopes die because of the Jacksonville Jaguars. I know the Jags are on a roll. I know they've looked good. I know they've got their guy at quarterback. But at this point in time, I just can't make myself believe that the Chiefs are going to let it all end this year at the hands of the Jags. And that's why I'm picking the Chiefs to win in a close one. I think the Jags are going to hang in there. I think the Chiefs are going to have to pull away at the end, but I think surely they will. Give me the Chiefs over the Jags, please. Saturday night, we'll switch over to the NFC. Speaking of our friend A.J. Brown, the Eagles host the Giants. The Giants kind of remind me of the Titans team from a few years ago that snuck in and got to the AFC title game. And this would be similar. I mean, think about what the Titans did that year. They went to New England. They beat a Patriots team that people thought they had a chance against, much like the Giants beating the Vikings last week. But then the Titans went to Baltimore to play the number 1 seed Ravens, and it was like, oh, the Titans are going to lose this game. Very similar to the Giants going to play the number 1 seeded Eagles. And the Eagles have a quarterback that's not 100%. Jalen Hurts, some of the clips coming out of Philadelphia, he does not look totally healed from his injury. So I think the Giants with Saquon and that defense could really give the Eagles some trouble. It's in Philly. It's Daniel Jones. I guess I'm going to have to go with the Eagles at the end of the day, although I'm iffy about that. I'm more iffy about the Eagles against the Giants than I am about the Chiefs against the Jags, and I'm iffy about the Chiefs against the Jags. I just think the Giants, they've got some spunk about them, man. And again, similar to that Titans team years ago, Saquon, defense, new head coach that's done a really good job in his first year. The Giants are going to make this interesting. I'm going to say the Eagles win with a field goal at the end to make it. But, man, I'm very iffy about that game. Like, I'm not confident in that pick at all. Going on to Sunday, we're back in the AFC. Bills, Bengals, two teams who had a very similar wild card round, played inferior teams with third-string quarterbacks that everybody thought they were going to beat soundly, but it came down to the end. They had to scratch and claw to win. Now they play each other. Feels like these two teams don't play each other a lot, and when they finally did, one of the worst tragedies we've ever seen, although thank God it's turned out good and DeMar Hamlin's doing well, thank God. But it was one of the scariest moments we've ever seen, and that game got canceled. So now here we are again. Bills, Bengals. This game just has potential to be one of those magical playoff games. Knowing the situation surrounding it, I mean, this has potential to be something. It's in Buffalo. Josh Allen has a turnover problem. I said it on Monday. He is great, but he's got a problem turning the ball over. In Buffalo, though, we talk about how Arrowhead's going to be going crazy for the Chiefs. That Bills Stadium's going to be rocking, too. I think this is going to be the game of the weekend. I think this is Burrow versus Allen. It's going to be great. Weapons all over the field. Give me the Bills close. I mean, the Bengals, they know how to do this. They did it last year. Don't we know it, Titans fans? They did it last year. They've made this run before. They know how to go on the road in the playoffs and get it done. But I just think the Bills, the Bills kind of feel like the team of destiny to me. I mean, this DeMar Hamlin thing, it would just be such a great story. Josh Allen, it feels like he's due to finally get to the top of the mountain. He wants his chance to beat Mahomes in the playoffs, and if the Chiefs can beat the Jags Saturday, they'll be in that position. Give me the Bills in a close one, man. These are going to be some good games, but give me the Bills. And then Sunday night, it all winds down with the Cowboys and the 49ers, where our guy Ran Carthon came from. In San Francisco, the Cowboys looked great the other night against the Bucs, but keep in mind, they were playing the worst team in the playoffs. They were playing a team in Tampa Bay who got in by default. They were in a division even worse than the AFC South. And so you got to keep that in mind. Dak looked great, but the Cowboys have been inconsistent. They've been up and down. They've had these performances all year where they looked fantastic, and they came out the next week and, kind of would lay an egg. Or maybe not the next week, but weeks later would lay an egg. In San Francisco, the 49ers with weapons all over the field. Let me tell you why I'm going to pick the Cowboys to win the game. At some point, I think the shine is going to wear off on Brock Purdy. I just think, how far can you go with this kid who got drafted last in the draft, who's come in and, they've won, 11 games in a row now, but can they really keep it up? Can they really keep it up with this kid? It just feels like at some point the shine's going to wear off. Close game, maybe he throws a bad interception late. I just feel like the Cowboys have a good defense too. So I feel like the shine's going to kind of wear off of Brock Purdy Sunday night, and the Cowboys are going to win that game. So those are my picks. Chiefs, give me the Eagles, give me the Bills, give me the Cowboys this weekend. And give me Ran Carthon in 15 minutes doing his introductory press conference as the new GM of the Tennessee Titans. I'm done for now. I'll be back Monday to talk about, maybe what we hear today from Ran Carthon. I'll be back Monday to talk about what we see in the playoffs. And it's going to be a good time. Thank you guys for joining me. Thank you guys for listening wherever you're listening from. Thank you guys for watching along on YouTube. Thank you for, following me on Twitter. I hope you do, at Two Tone Talk. Subscribe on YouTube. This is the Two Tone Talk podcast, staying way too high on the wins, way too low on the losses. Thank you guys for hanging out, and I'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.
It's time to tell all the haters to go sit down. This is the new